You were involved in previous Indigenous games. Could you give us a brief history of what your involvement was in the past?
Well, I was more directly involved with the 2002 Indigenous Games that were held in Winnipeg, and I was co-chair of the committee that oversaw the games. And Winnipeg was a spectacular success in my view.
How big of an endeavor is it for you to take on an Indigenous Games in your...
It's a huge undertaking because the success of any of the Indigenous Games is really dependent on volunteers. And both Saskatchewan and Winnipeg, and in particular Winnipeg and Regina, Saskatoon, have the culture of volunteerism. We had a lot of volunteers as these particular games have had. And if you don't have volunteers, you're not going to be successful. And so people come out, they know it's important for their communities, they know it's important for Indigenous people, so you end up with a lot of solid community support.
You mentioned that it's important for the people in the community. What impact does it have on the community that it's held?
Well, it's true that it's important for the Indigenous communities because it's about young people. It's about young people competing. It's about young people setting goals for themselves. It's all about teamwork, individual effort, it's perseverance, it's commitment, dedication. And you can transfer all of those to communities, building healthy, safe communities, politically vibrant communities, economically vibrant communities. And so the young people that participate in these games are there to demonstrate not just their commitment, but to excel and to demonstrate how they can compete with anyone, because sports is in sports everyone is equal to begin with, right? And so it's extremely important for our communities. It inspires our communities.
Speaking of inspiration, at the opening ceremonies yesterday, they talked about how tribal youth, this is their chance to transition. This will give them an opportunity to transition into a leadership role because it transfers those qualities. Do you see that as an important facet of the games?
Oh, gosh, yes. Any activity that requires a commitment, perseverance, dedication, an understanding what it takes to win, a clear goal, and what it's going to take to reach that goal. And all of that is so very important, and it inspires our young people to new and better things, right? After they achieve success, but we should also remember not everyone wins here.
And there's a lesson also in failure, correct? It
Absolutely.
teaches them how to handle that?
I mean, it's both are important. Winning and losing, be a winner or you lose, right? There are lessons at every step of the way. And so, of course, when you lose, you learn how to take that.
So when the games were held in Manitoba, you were able to get 3 levels of government to sign a multi-agreement to support the games. Can you walk us through how did you bring that about?
Well, it takes a lot of hard work, just like competing. Perseverance, you have to be dedicated, you have to be
So the same
goal.
values transfer over?
Absolutely, and you have to know who to touch, who to connect with, and you present your story. You describe how very important it is for the community. And here, when I'm talking about the community, I'm not talking specifically or just about the First Nation community or the Indigenous, but the larger community. Because as much as it inspires our young people in our communities, this ought to be seen as inspirational for Canadians and the United States of America.
Speaking of which, you carried the torch at the 2010 Games?
Yes.
Can you talk about the parallels between that and the Indigenous Games?
Sure. Well, the 2010 Olympics was so good for us in so many ways. The torch run was the longest in international Olympic history. It went through 119 Aboriginal communities, 109 traditional ceremonies. It was, the torch run had a large presence in our communities. And granted, it's a major international event. The Indigenous Games are not as large, but they're just as significant because both are really about bringing communities together, right? Ensuring that communities are a part of this.
The sharing of cultures.
Sharing of cultures, the competition. The 2010 Olympics were very much an intercultural event, as much as they were about hockey and speed skating. And this one is as well. I mean, we have tribes from different parts of the United States. We have First Nation communities and competitors from both sides. And it draws the community together.
So why do you think the Indigenous Games are a necessity for tribal youth? Why do you think we need to continue having them?
Well, they definitely have to continue. They have to continue to inspire our communities. They must continue to bring communities together. It must provide an opportunity for our young people to demonstrate excellence. It must be about the spirit of competition, and that's so very important. There isn't anything we shouldn't do for our young people. We have to give our young people every opportunity to excel, to participate, to compete, to set goals, because the rewards are incredible, and each of these will bring tremendous value to our communities. Absolutely, they should continue to be an important part of our communities.